What is good, y'all? Sing here, and today we're going to talk about why Koga's revenge arc with Yumigahama is actually really important in the Kengan Omega story. But first off, if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, it's because I'm going to see your mom. Before I do that, I did see the recent chapter on Kengan Omega, and I was actually kind of not really surprised by the outcome, to be fair with you. You see, I originally hypothesized that Koga was going to absolutely body Yumigahama, but what I did not see coming, though, pun intended, was Koga being able to learn from Shen not how to beat Shen, but how to beat everyone in the series. And it's really easy when you think about it. And it's actually the same tactic I use whenever I play like video games, like MOBAs and everything like that. The best way to beat an opponent is to not let your opponent beat you. If you can beat someone before they can actually throw a punch, then there's no way for you to lose at that point. It's just like how when I'm playing in my MMOs, the best way to beat someone is to stun lock the shit out of them before they can actually fight you. That way, they can't do anything to stop you. Well, anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the story, and I can tell you about why this is actually rather important to Kengan Omega. Now, in early Omega, we were introduced to Yumigahama, the traitorous fang of Metsudo, and he gut-checked Koga with ease, knocking him out to the ground, making Koga learn that he was really insignificant to any of the good fighters in the series. I'm not saying that Yumigahama is a rather good fighter, of course, but I am saying that he is a respected fighter. I mean, you don't get the title Fang of Metsudo for no reason. Although in Yumigahama's sense, the only reason he did get the Fang of Metsudo title is because Katahara did see potential in him. He has this fixation. See, Katahara has this fixation on fighters where if he sees potential in them, he'll probably slap on the Fang of Metsudo title on them. So Lord knows how much potential he saw in Masasa. Anyways, Koga, he wants to fight him for payback, not just for the physical pain that Yumigahama inflicted upon him, but for the mental pain that was inflicted upon him instead. You see, like Koga said at the end of the chapter, Yumigahama actually hitting Koga and reminding him that, yo, you are absolutely nothing, you're dog water, that he needs to get stronger in order to become something in the series. And realistically, if you were to just watch Koga how he was back then, it wouldn't really be that interesting. In fact, it would just be Oma's story part 2, Electric Boogaloo, which has been the duration of Omega for the longest time now. So I'm very happy to see some Koga getting some limelight once again. But the mental pain that was inflicted upon him was not just his sense of self-worth going down, but it was also the fight with Jose. You see, Jose was knocked out not just once, but twice by Yumigahama, and he was hospitalized the second time. This even caused Sekibayashi and Haru to drop out of the Kengan versus Purgatory match because they needed to cover for Jose's injury, and they didn't want to risk getting injured themselves. And the reason for Sekibayashi then passing down the torch onto Koga in order to beat up Yumigahama was very symbolic, because you gotta understand, Seki really loves the people that are in his wrestling federation, so if anyone were to fuck with Haro or anyone in the group, Sekibayashi is going to be on them. Baba Gozen is going to be on them. Well, not Bada because he's gone, but, Seki's master is going to be on them. Haru is going to be after them, and no one really wants that. It's just under unfortunate circumstances that Yumigahama actually got the bypass from them. But because Yumigahama actually has ties to the Fang of Metsudo, he had Masasa on his ass and he had Kano on his ass. Now, he dodged the bullet with Kano, but he could not dodge the bullet with Misasa. And we're going to talk about how Misasa's fight with Yumigahama is actually going to be rather important in just a second. But after the torch was passed down onto Koga, Koga then started learning how to exactly beat Yumigahama, or rather some ways for him to get stronger. And this is when he started training with Joji, and Joji taught him how to use the Crescent Moon Kick. Now, the Crescent Moon Kick is one that was introduced way back, like 200 chapters ago, man. And this was the first finisher that Koga actually learned. Now, I want to keep in mind that Joji did mention that this may be the first finisher that Koga learns, but it's not the only finisher that Koga has. So we're going to see Koga start using this move a lot often in his fights, and it's going to be like his trademark move because it's the first one we actually see him use. See, while everyone is climbing the mountain that Shen was building, Koga was already climbing a mountain on his own. He was climbing up the mountain of having to reach up to the Annihilation Fighters, and now since Shen is in the building, he is now learning, or rather he's looking up at the peak of Shen, pause, but he's looking up at Shen and getting some ideas on how to fight people, and he's going about it in his own way. He's not just going around picking up fighters one by one. He's picking up fighters who are arguably the strongest in their little grouping. This hypothesizing, of course, by the way, that he'll beat someone who's a top dog in Purgatory, or he's going to fight someone in the Annihilation tournament from the past. Most notably, I would say either Himuro or Gozo Morobochi, because we haven't seen Gozo really fight anyone per se, but he could also beat Himuro because Himuro is one who's known for being quote-unquote just shy of the legends. So I want to see a Koga versus Himuro fight almost as much as I want to see a Gozo versus Koga fight. Either way, I'd be very satisfied with it. But this fight with Koga and Yumigahama actually serves a different purpose on its own for the story. So going back to this fight, Yumigahama serves as a good median for all the fighters that are in the upper echelon and of the lower echelon, because this is not a washed up Yumigahama and it's not a nerf Yumigahama. Let me explain. You see, in Yumigahama's fight with Misasa, there were a lot of rules in place because it's purgatory rules, of course. The ring was shrinking, and that was a very big detail during their fight. Now, Yumigahama actually fights by making himself a human weapon, meaning his body parts are used as like swords, knives, daggers, everything like that. And so he's a lot more comfortable using weapons in order to kill someone as he is more so suited to just combat sports. So being under purgatory, it didn't really make sense for someone who's meant to be a human weapon to be playing in an underground tournament where killing is not allowed. But during the fight with Misasa, Yumigahama was very limited because of the space of the arena shrinking down, and then he wasn't able to escape around it. However, in this match with Koga, there is free reign, okay? They're in a street fight right now. So the reason that Yumigahama is not nerfed in this situation because he is in his element right now. He has weapons on him. He has no limitations on how he can move. So he can really do anything he wants if he can actually kill Koga. Now, Koga, on the other hand, he is known for originally being like a street fighter. 3.5 years ago, before he met Kazuo, he was just taking up on street fights and doing a little dabbling here and there in martial arts. And so it wasn't until he met Kazi that he started taking up martial arts a lot more seriously, then getting stronger, so on and so forth. But up until this point, these two are pretty much on the same level as far as just brawling goes. Now, this fight as a whole, all right, the reason that this fight actually exists, though, is because Koga's friend actually did some research and found Yumigahama's location because Yumigahama was actually working for some various Yakuzas. Now, I'm not going to assume it's the Niwa clan, but I'm going to assume it's the Niwa clan. Anyways, he's working with various Yakuzas and he's doing it for pay, or rather the highest bidder. So what really doesn't suit well when a person does this is because if you're a hired assassin and you can be easily bought out by a person who's just paying a lot more money, then you don't really have any sense of loyalty. No one's going to want to keep you that way because, well, realistically, how do we know that you're not going to turn on us just because X person gave you a lot more money? That's when, you know, technically they kind of want to take him out. So it wasn't really that hard for Koga's friend in order to find his location. That's just my hypothesis, of course. So realistically, what we're getting out of this fight is a reminder that Koga will exist in the story and that he is the protagonist and how far he's actually come during all these years. Now, we see that during his match with Yumigahama, he's using the whole nine when it comes to the Nico style. We're talking, he's using adamantine kata, he's using iron breaker, like literally pounding in Yumigahama's face. And not only that, but he's following up on what Shen taught him. You see, Shen told him that, yo, if you want to fight someone, you just got to hit them before they can actually move, or rather get an idea on where the person is moving, because Koga, just like Yamashita, he has the fist eye, or the Kengan, if you want to call it that. So he has the fist eye, so he's able to use his superior kinetic vision to understand where a person is moving and then attack them before they can actually move. So you see, when Yumigahama is actually about to go for a kick, Koga hits him in his knee, destroys his left knee before Yumigahama can even move. And so while Yumigahama is reeling, he follows up with not just an iron breaker, but a Brazilian kick on top of that. This combo was actually the same exact combo that Koga used during his first Kengan match, and it's the same combo that Joji taught him, following up with knocking out Yumigahama into the trash, thus winning him the fight. Now, the end result of this is Koga walking away from Yumigahama being piled up in, like, you know, a mountain of trash. And I gotta say, this was not at all a surprising outcome given the circumstances for Yumigahama and Koga. Once again, this chapter really just served the purpose of reminding us that Koga is the protagonist of this series and that Koga has been growing throughout all this time. He hasn't just been stagnant. Him and Ryuki have actually been training and getting stronger over time because they want to take part in this match against Sen. Yeah, they want to train up in order to fight Sen Hatsumi. Yeah, Hatsumi is the next Omega. Yeah. Let me find out that Hatsumi actually comes back and then becomes really, really strong. I'm gonna lose it, bro. Then what's next? You're gonna tell me that Kiba's gonna become top tier as well? Oh my gosh, I'm having too much fun with this. But for Koga's whole little revenge arc right here, I'm gonna give it a solid 7 out of 10 because it's not a bad revenge arc or revenge sequence, if you want to call it like that. It's just weirdly placed. It's just very weirdly placed because I wanted like an after panel after Kano won, not necessarily a cutaway of Oma just getting off the phone saying, "Oh, hey, yeah, that guy Kano, he won." Then like the fact that I'm sorry, I'm doing a tangent right now because I'm talking about the entire like little arc afterwards, like after the Champions Tournament. But the fact that Shen literally said, "Oh yeah, that guy," he didn't even remember. He remembered Agito, but he didn't remember Agito, if you know what I mean. So it makes sense considering how Shen is, but even Kuroki was just like, "Oh yeah, given Kano's ability, it makes sense that he won." Like, dog, you're really just downplaying a lot of the people that were in that tournament, which rightfully so, because a lot of them are actually fodder. I'm going to include Lolong in the fodder. Anyways, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Y'all take care.